invite you to a journey. We face all over the world serious issues in regard to water, so we can address it in many ways. I just try to look at it from how we can grow in consciousness that these problems are addressed. Let's have a kind of view of what is the situation on Earth with water. So first you can constate that the large part of the globe is covered with water, 70%. It is very large, in fact, if you compare to the total surface of the area. But out of this 70%, 97% is salty water. And only out of this 3% left over, 69% is ice, frozen water. So it means these two waters are either difficult or require a lot of technical setup to be able to access to it. Now, if you compare to the human body, well, we are quite made of water also, and it is interesting to see that the proportions of water in our own human body is quite proportionate to the surface of water on Earth. How much water do we use? You can see that according to the countries we live in, we have a lot of range of domestic water consumption. And this is, of course, the reflection of a lifestyle, but also to access. For example, here if I speak of India with 85 liters, it is a very inaccurate figure, because if you go in any villages in the surrounding of Auroville, most of the people will have access to about 45 to 50 liters of water per day. So this figure of 85 liters represents in fact mainly the urban area and the well-supplied urban area only, because many of them are short in water accessibility. Now, okay, where do we use water at home? Okay, a lot in the toilets, but also in shower, from the taps, and for various activities, just to give you an idea of what it means in your daily life. You can see that you have to be careful with what you eat, because basically if you want to eat beef, you eat a lot of water. You need a lot of water to have a steak in your plate. Now if you want to go for some kind of vegetables, you see the proportion, we have 15,000 cubic meters per ton of beef produced, and for vegetable we have 300 cubic meters of water. So it is giving you a huge range on why your choice in terms of alimentation has a serious impact in terms of water demand. If you look at the situation, where is water? Have we access freely to water on Earth? We are by now about more than 7 billion people on Earth, and of course it has a tremendous impact on the water demand. And this is a map showing what is called water stress. Water stress is this concept that do you have or not enough access to water for your daily needs in terms of industries, agriculture, domestic demand, drinking water, whatnot. And you can see that, in fact, a very large part of the Earth, at least in this part of the zone, which is, let's say, a subtropical area, including India, of course, all the Saharan area, all the Central America, are facing huge water stress. It means on the daily basis, it happens very often that there is not enough water to supply the need of the population. In India, though India is classified at national level as a water stress country, in fact most of the water is used for agriculture. Now if you go to details about India in particular, you can see that 54% of the country is facing very acute water stress situation. So, and we are again in Tamil Nadu, you can see it is not bright. We are in a context where in fact we have about 80% of the total area which is facing water stress. There is not enough water on a daily basis to ensure agricultural activities, industries, and urban developments on daily needs. The mirror of this is about groundwater. In the same way, we can observe that on a very large part of the country, there is another exploitation of groundwater, and because of that, the water level in the bore wells, which is so far a very important part of the water resource in India, is decreasing. So, okay, what do we do with this situation where clearly the population is increasing and we don't have enough water? Now, if we focus on Auroville, what you can see, okay, we are on the seashore. Auroville is on this higher elevation area there, and you can see there is an incredible number of irrigation tanks. It is all these water bodies you can see there were developed artificially by man. None of them is natural and was made for irrigation purpose. Why? Because it was very well understood at that time, which is something which has started about 1,500 years ago. It was very well understood that to guarantee the good quality of life for the population, surface water management has to be integrated in daily life. This is representing drainage area, no, which are quite extended. It is in square kilometers. Pondicherry, for example, the territory of Pondicherry is depending on legally. It's a different structure, legal structures than the state of Tamil Nadu. So it doesn't have the same criteria in terms of law and regulation. Now, in terms of responsibility, it is good to know that the responsibility in terms of water belongs to states. So here is Tamil Nadu, here is Pondicherry. What happens to this river, which is, by the way, flowing only 15 days per year maximum? What happens to the water in this river when it is reaching Pondicherry? Who is in charge of this water? Who is responsible, and to whom does it belong, if at all it belongs to anyone? Auroville is situated here. The area you see on this map, it is covering about 250 square kilometers. We have 6,000 borewells extracting water daily, mainly for agriculture, but not only. So, as a result, what do we observe? We observe that there is a lot of degradation happening. I have not represented anything, there are too many, but basically related to discharge of untreated pollution, of accumulation of toxic waste in many places, but also to accumulation of solid waste, which are present everywhere. A lot of fertilizers and pesticides, which are used massively because most of the lands are cultivated on conventional techniques. And nowadays, because of the over-extraction related to the picture I was presented just before, we can observe seawater intrusion. So you can see the seawater intrusion is already happening up to 20 and 30 kilometers inland at this level. And you can see how it is. This is Kallo Valley Swamp, which is a very large water body, 72 square kilometers, with a lot of birds, etc. But since many years, we observe seawater all around these swamps for many reasons. Now you can see Auroville being here. By chance, so far, the seawater intrusion is not farther than that. Okay? Why? Because of the effort which has been made by many years, to reinforce groundwater recharge. But this, just keep in mind, this seawater intrusion was not present 15 years ago. It was just hardly present along the shore, but there was nothing like entering kilometers inland. This is the context of Auroville. You know, for you, I believe most of you know, that we started on this very difficult eroded plateau with no tree whatsoever, and a lot of effort has been made towards erosion control, afforestation, and water conservation. Nevertheless, it is not enough. Why it is not enough? We share the water. The Auroville is somewhere here on the plateau. So at this level, the water is flowing in all kinds of direction, like that, and like that, towards these irrigation ponds, which are there, present there, and towards the sea. Now, if I tilt this 3D model, it's a 3D model of the surface of the topography. If I tilt this model a little bit, I see the bore wells there, and I see the various levels of geology. So what happens is that these wells are tapping a common resource. The common resource which is visible there, I just come back, Auroville is somewhere there in this area. So you can say if I pump water there, it is fine. No, because people pumping the water there pump the same water than me. It is visible here. And what you see, the blue lines you see there are bore wells. It's 6,000 bore wells on the small part of the bioregion of Auroville. So as a result, the water is declining very quickly. The groundwater. So we have lost many meters in terms of groundwater level between the period it was here, it was 8 years ago about, and the period where we are now. So, and the tendency is towards, of course, going even farther inland every day. Many bore wells are getting dry during summer, and the numbers of wells which are affected by this problem are increasing. Is groundwater exploitation still the solution? We have developed systems to catch rainwater and to recharge the groundwater, saying, okay, we are safe like that. And that is true that since 50 years, we are somehow safe in this context. But because we are all tapping on the same resource, what happens now, it is like that. Auroville is covering about 20 square kilometers, okay? Our area of interdependency, what we call the bioregion, it's about 2,000 square kilometers. So whatever we do it, for fantastic it is, we have a very efficient way to catch water and to recharge water, nevertheless it is going in the same aquifer. Whomever is pumping water has an effect on what we do. Whatever we do to recharge water, it is also beneficiary. But the factor, it is between 20 kilometers on 2,000 kilometers. So of course it doesn't change the scenario. How can we ensure water security? It is really a serious issue, and we are, in the context of Auroville, in the context of Tamil Nadu, in the context of India, in most parts of the world as well, facing this problem. How can we guarantee water accessibility, water security? So, of course, the main problems we face is about population growth. The population is growing, the activities related to human activities are developing, and with that, the water demand is developing, and we have a limited resource, as we saw earlier. The industrialization, more it goes, the industries are developing, and a lot of them are water intensive. They need a lot of water to be able to run. Then, most of the time, the water is seen as a utility. It is not seen as a resource, but as an opportunity for business. And this is really not the right way to approach it. The main problem, if you turn it a bit more generally, is that because of the way we approach the things, we lost the sacred value of water. Now the problem is that most of this water is coming from pipes. It is coming from underground. It is coming from you don't know where. So, okay, how do you relate to something which becomes in fact virtual? Because you don't know, you open your taps, there is water or is no water. Why? There is no point where the people or the life as general is connected to the needs of water. Why? Because it is seen as a utility. It is not seen as a fundamental good for the goods of all and everything living on Earth. It is not seen like that. So our main issue, in my view, it is to bring consciousness to change these things, to shift to something where finally fundamentals of life, like water is one, is considered as something which is cannot be only referred to as a business opportunity. So how can we develop this sense that something is precious, and because of that we have to develop this sense of gratitude, which is automatically changing the way we relate, because it is not anymore just a facility, it is something you need to live. So we have to find ways to come back to something much more tangible, less artificial, less away from your side. That is, in the sense that if we use local resources in a more efficient way, and we maintain this relationship with this resource, in that case, we have something which is much more adapted. If you can bring a bit of beauty in what we develop, people automatically have the sense that something is of certain quality, but it is not enough. We have also to develop respect, because beauty is not enough. And of gratitude, because finally, if we live, because we have access to water, nothing else. If we create a completely artificial system, for example, of drains or lakes with artificial shores, with concrete, with tar, etc., everywhere, with surface where you have only artificial system or artificial activities, the water has no way to maintain itself. It needs to have a certain interactions with the environment to be able to sustain itself, to stay clean, and to participate to the beauty of the things. In terms of Auroville, it is exactly the same. That is very interesting, by the way, because if you look at Auroville, it is the topography of the city area. You can see that, okay, here you have the highest range of the plateau, the ridge. The water is flowing that way and that way. And what is interesting is that the center is off track. Because of that, we can in fact drain all this area in that direction and in that direction. A large part of the city can be drained. But it means, of course, it means if you want to develop something like that, there are two aspects. You have to look at how to integrate something like that in a urban design, but also you need to have the lands. If I imagine I want to develop a drain in this area, whatever the development is there, in such a way that I can catch the water, store it, and use it for supplying the people, because groundwater will not be here tomorrow. So I have to find other sources. So let's tap surface water. So if I do that, you can imagine that I may have problems because lands are not belonging to Auroville. You can say, but why not to develop terrace lakes? Not one water body, but a succession of water body. So this kind of succession can be just side by side, or it can be 100 meters away. And you can have interconnection of system like that, using the topography. You don't go against, you work with it in such a way you can benefit the area at the maximum with a design which may be not exactly what is proposed today, but which is adaptive and which can be changed. It's just ideas. We are working with a common resource and we try to develop a system which is in cascade like that from the surface. In fact, you are working towards abundance. Because when you try to capture the water at the surface like that, you will have constantly excess water. You cannot store everything. It is not possible. It is too costly. It is unaffordable. So automatically you have a lot of water which will benefit the neighbor. So in fact, when you start to say, I develop a system locally, you create immediately a possibility for the neighbor to benefit of that. When it is full, it is overflowing to the next, and that is what we can do. By that, we can secure water not only for our ville, but to the surrounding, and that is what I call the gift economy.